that's what we built, is basically a robotic chemistry monitoring device.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Westra, and I am so excited for today's interview because we've got a founder who's taken his business in a completely different world and sphere than he initially planned. I know if you're listening to this and you're a founder, this may not have ever happened to you, but more than likely it has. Almost every founder comes to a crossroads where they're trying to grow and scale their business, and they hit this place where they're like, all right, what do I want to focus on? What do I want to do? Well, today's guest is awesome. He has taken a business that he thought would be a huge government play in a foreign country and turned it into something completely different because there was demand and there was money ready to be spent on the solution that his product provides. So take a listen. You're going to love this episode. It's a story about pivots, journey, keeping the long-term goal in the back of his head while he focuses on the immediate needs and goals of the business. And it's also a wonderful acquisition story. I've never had one happen to me quite like this before, but he literally sold the business before product was even finished developing, which is awesome. So check out this story. You're going to love the guest. His name is Ravi, and he's got an amazing story. We'll catch up to you on the flip side of this interview. Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Growth and Scaling Podcast. I am so excited today to have Ravi here talking about his business and what it does to help other people in the world and where it can go. This is going to be an exciting interview. Ravi, tell us who you are and what do you solve with your business?
My name is Ravi Kurani. I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Sutro. Sutro builds a robotics platform that remotely tells you if your water is safe. And the way that we do that is through a technology called microfluidics. So we take liquids, make them really, really, really small. And if you've ever dipped one of those little litmus strip tests inside of, water to measure what the color is, we do the exact same thing, but really tiny. Right. And that's what we built, is basically a robotic chemistry monitoring device.
That's pretty cool. So you take that data and then you do what with it? I mean, how is this going to help me?
Yeah. So if you look at water across the world, right, it's used in a multitude of applications. You can think about obvious being drinking water, anywhere around production, right? You look at beer, wine, alcohol, sodas, juices, require water. A lot of our food manufacturing, right? Food and beverage manufacturing requires water in the process to make sure things are clean, all the way to culture and swimming pools. In all of those settings, let's take a swimming pool, for example, you put chlorine in your pool water to make sure there's no bacteria in there, right? So you can swim in safe water, but you that water. So the use of the water is very different, and what you do to the water in terms of how you treat it is also very different. Where we come in is we help you understand what you need to do to the water for that particular application. So if you have a swimming pool, we'll tell you to put in chlorine or change your pH. If you're growing strawberries, we'll tell you to put in more nitrates or phosphates based on the particular cycle of the strawberry. If you're doing drinking water, that your chlorine content's low, and that might affect your distribution water that you have going into your drinking water. So that's where Sutro sits in. We are the sensor that tells you what to do to actually make sure the water is usable for your application.
That's very cool. That's really good. I can see that there's, when we talked before this call, we talked a little bit about the use case of your product, and I can see right now it could be anywhere. I mean, that's a lot of use cases with where water is being used.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of, the vision of the company is we want to sit at the nexus of where water is used globally to almost create this water OS, right? The operating system for water. So depending on what you're using it for, we can tell you what to do with it.
That's pretty awesome.
Thank you. Yeah.
No, I mean, that's really cool. Now in starting something like this, I mean, let's be honest, most small business owners or founders of small businesses, they kind of get themselves in this mode of like, they want to solve every problem out there possible. Your problem is simple yet super complicated. The problem is you're trying to solve for water. I mean, that's right. In a nutshell, you're just trying to help people understand what's going on with the water supply.
Exactly. Yep.
But on the big picture, the use cases are all over the place. So how do you stay focused? How have you chosen to take your business from, I can do all this stuff, into building a profitable, steadily growing business operations from an operational standpoint?
Yeah, focus is the name of the game, right? It is, like you said, it's in its essence is a very simple product, right? You're just measuring water parameters. People, testing companies measure water all day long.
Right.
Markets are different though, right? In selling to a farmer or selling to a company like PepsiCo or a large drinking water company is very different than, selling to somebody that owns a swimming pool.
Right.
So actually, my founding story, the way that we initially came upon the idea of Sutro was I was an associate at a small venture capital fund in India. And a lot of the deal flow that we had coming in, people were focusing on water filtration, right? Water is a big problem in India. And
For
people
sure.
had these, charcoal filters and different types of filters. And the use cases of the water were very different. So I'm like, hey, I understand the Jack or Jane of all trades water filter, but are you using that in an agricultural setting? Are you using that for drinking water? Are you using that for food and bev?
Right.
And, the founders were like, well, we don't really care because we just kind of clean water. And I'm like, well, clean water is definitionally different for each of these applications. So you should probably a sensor linked in. And so when we started looking at the sensor market, we found out you have these really cheap sensors that can be pennies, but the data quality is really bad, the little test strips, or $7,000 to $10,000 sensors minimum that are required in large scale drinking water facilities, right? There's nothing really in the middle.
Right.
So we built the product and tried to sell it to the Indian government. Stupidest thing a startup can do, by the way. Don't try to sell the Indian government.
Right.
So we came back. My dad actually, growing up, had a chain of pool and spa supply stores in Southern California. And so I just flipped the whole model around. I said, hey, let's take this sensor. I remember I used to do water tests in the swimming pool store.
For sure.
Let's take my dad's pool store and shove it inside of a robot, put it on an app, and sell them to wealthier pool owners first, take that capital, and then do the drinking water stuff later. So folks, right, you have to find a niche. You have to find who you're selling to. And finding that niche and focusing is the number one key of making sure that you are successful.
So you're telling me that if you went to a pool owner and said, hey, I've got this great product that can solve drinking water problems for the rest of the world, but I want to use it in your pool, that wouldn't go over quite as well as if you just said, hey, look what we're going to do for your pool.
Exactly, because people have problems, and you problem with a particular solution, right? The guy,
I love it,
swimming pool thing wants to make sure his pool's not green for his daughter's second birthday party.
Right.
He doesn't care about the drinking water in Africa. As bad as that sounds, he has a need for this weekend, and that's the one that we're going to solve.
100%. And for those listening, let me just tell you something. If you really want to grow and scale your business, it has to be that focused. Like, you really have to be solving a problem people want you to fix for them. They don't always care about the bigger picture about what you're doing. Now, you have a bigger picture. How do you balance your product development flow, I guess, as you're developing the pool product and yet still wanting to kind of solve that bigger water problem?
Yeah, I mean, it shows itself in a lot of different ways, right? So from the hardware perspective, let's talk about that.
Right.
Designed the sensor cluster such that it is built by a Lego block architecture, right? So if you wanted to take out the blue block and put in the red block to measure nitrates for agriculture versus pH for a swimming pool.
Gotcha.
Right? With minimal customization, we've done a lot of the groundwork to make sure that switch is easy.
Cool.
So do we sell the pool product today? Yes, 100%. Is it easily changeable to go into agricultural later? 100% yes as well, right? So
cool. Yeah.
Are building the infrastructural basis or the kind of blueprints of what you're actually making, you do think a few steps ahead. You don't need to do everything today, but you want to make sure you do plan for it.
I love it. Now as you made this huge pivot from trying to work with a foreign government and trying to help them implement these water changes and solve this amazing humanitarian problem, and then jumping back into like a very I don't even know how you call it, more standard first world problem of, shoot, man, my pool is looking a funky color. That's kind of that's a very, very different mindset. how did you kind of resolve that problem in your own head? What was it, all cash flow based? I mean, it sounds like did you bootstrap a lot of this? You worked at a VC, but like, how are you building the actual entity of what you're doing for Sutro?
Yeah, so we did raise VC funding very early on. That was back in 2016 or so, or 20. And around 2017 or 2018, we actually got acquired by a large chemicals company in Canada.
Cool.
This chemical company makes water sanitation chemicals for pool and spa, janitorial, agriculture, and food and beverage.
Nice.
So I kind of saw the vision, even through that acquisition with them, of great. I know that there's a there. I know that there's a future that I can look forward to, because the was one of many different verticals, even within their company.
Right.
That was kind of, the goal of the acquisition, was that we were going to go deep in the pool and spa industry and then come back out and scale horizontally across the rest of them.
Awesome. Hey there, friends. Todd Westra here. I want to thank you so much for listening to this episode, but I also want to take just a few seconds to let you know about a project that we've been putting together for the last several months, and we're finally launching it, called the Captain's Council. You see, as a CEO or operator of a business, it can feel like you get stuck in your own head a lot of the time. You get challenges that you don't know how to resolve. You get people causing problems in your leadership team that you don't know how to resolve. And it's so hard to overcome those things by yourself. You don't have to anymore. Join the Captain's Council. Captain's Council is a group of other CEOs and operators and owners of businesses where we come together once a month for several hours to discuss the biggest challenges you're facing. You express to the council of 8 to 10 people about what's going on. Where do you feel stuck? And these other people are in the same boat as you. They're running and operating their own businesses. They're your peers. They help you kind of dissect what's happening and help you see things that you may not have seen all by yourself. If you don't have a good, strong network of people around you, come join the Captain's Council. This is going to be something that will change the way you run your business and open your eyes to opportunities that you have never seen without the help of your peer group. Come check it out, captainscouncil.com. And as it working? That was 2018. Where are you at on that cycle? I mean, is it going like you hoped? Obviously you got to be careful who's listening to this thing, but how has that been as a founder to kind of take that chance on the acquisition versus just sticking out on your own? Like, why did you make that call to be acquired?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a cost and benefit analysis, right? It's like, do you get to see your idea continue through kind of doing that, or do you want to spend all day long fundraising, right? I think there's pros, obviously, to getting purchased by a much larger company. And in my case, our acquirers have been absolutely amazing, right? So they've been really good from a financing perspective. They've been really good in kind of giving us a general amount of autonomy, but also, kind of bringing in the big boy finance pants of saying, hey, look, this is kind of how Excel sheets need to run. You guys can be a startup all day long, but we need to make sure we hit profitability numbers. And so a lot in learning, right? Because I think in Silicon Valley, there is this kind of just, pray and burn strategy of let's just go ahead and deploy a bunch of capital to get years. But there is a little bit of a smartness also in kind of, looking at this from the bigger company standpoint as well.
I love it. And in this course of growth, tell me your favorite part about this. I mean, you go from your initial stages in India to building the pool business, getting acquired. What along that journey has been your favorite part of it, and kind of fill us in on that?
Yeah, I would put the headline as like learning, right? That's kind of the biggest thing for me. I think we got acquired when we were at prototype, right? We hadn't commercially made the device yet.
Wow.
For those of you who don't know how to make hardware is hard, right? It's not as we make plastic parts. There's electronics. There's things go wrong with hardware. Just as much as they software, but probably at a factor of X of 10X. And so that's been amazing, right? I spent the good part of my first few years with our engineering team in China, learning the entire manufacturing supply chain, right? You think you can just buy screws from Grainger, screw them in your garage. It's like, no. you got to stick to a supply chain. You got to stick to things that are normally made components. There's trade-offs you got to make, all the way down to, how do you put containers on a ship, right? We have to bring the ship to the port of Los Angeles, and that has to sit somewhere. People think they can just order something online and it shows up in a box at their doorstep and it's supposed to work. It's like,
right.
There's a lot of thinking that goes behind that. And that's kind of, to your question is around learning, all the way to even marketing, right? How do you sell this thing? There's Google and Facebook as a channel. Those are changing right now with ChatGPT coming out, Google itself as a competitor. It's like the landscape is continuously changing. And so being able to learn and actually launching a product, even though it may not be in drinking water, has, extremely beneficial. I really love that.
I love it. Now let's flip this scenario over. That has been your fun part. What has been your least favorite part? I mean, what's been the biggest roadblock you've had to hit in trying to grow this business?
It's been focus is, I think, what I would say, right? I think as a founder, you do have all these ideas. I do want to get into drinking water, and it's kind of like you have so many hours in the day, and you just focus on what that objective is, then you're going to be able to, accomplish it. The question then becomes of how large of a bite do I want to bite off and chew? And that becomes the real out of what do you focus on and how do you focus? It's still a challenge, honestly, right? It's like kind of where do you spend the hours of your day?
Well, so sticking with that, I mean, what advice to give to people that are so easily distracted? Most founders are pretty distractible people. You know what I mean? Like, how do you keep them focused? How do you keep you focused?
There's definitely, you have to have a kind of cool down routine and a startup routine, right? I think the biggest thing after COVID is to put your laptop away, right? Focus on dinner, focus on the food that you're eating. Watch a little bit of TV, whatever you're going to do, read a book, meditate, decompress in the evening, because your brain, you need time to defragment your RAM, right? And if you're always on, your battery's always running, it's gonna burn you out. And more importantly, you're not going to be efficient in the work that you're doing, right? That's kind of thing. The other thing is learning how to say no. Honestly, like you want to say yes to every single meeting. You feel like you need to be in there and micromanage.
Right.
Give people the agency and the time to do the things that you've hired them to do, right? Give your colleagues the time to make a mistake here or there, but make sure you have enough guardrails so that you feel like you're in control.
I love it.
Saying no would be the second thing. And then when you do say no, fill up time with blocks of focus, right? Because if you're context jumping from one meeting to the next, bucket all your meetings together, make sure you take good notes and send out follow-ups, and then have some focus. So you can sit down for 3 hours, close your Gmail, do whatever you need to do, but focus on the thing you're trying to do.
I love it. That's awesome advice. And I think that I find myself doing that far too little with my business. I mean, a 3-hour block open in my day looks to me like a death trap. Like, what just happened? What's going on in my world? You know what I mean? But how important is that to do that at least every couple of days, if not every day, to have a block where you can just focus?
Yeah, and entirely. And I think, the way that I kind of combat that initial decision paranoia is to have some sort of like a running to-do list, right? There's different people work on this differently. Some are visual, some love the little checklist. There's a million things online that you can find the next group. Sure. Pick your own. Who cares what it is, right? Just pick one and follow it. Yeah. But you want to not end up at that 3-hour block thinking, what do I do now, right? You want to grab that to-do list and at the items, or focusing on one particular big piece of chunk that you work on.
I love it. Now, before we let you go, I do want to know, everybody's got some kind of person in their life, someone in their circle who inspires them. Every founder that I've ever talked to, they've always got someone like this, because it is not easy to grow and scale. It's a very lonely role as a founder or co-founder. Who in your circle has been that inspiration to you? We want to give him a quick shout out before we end this call.
Yeah, right now I would actually say it's my executive coach, Dave Cox.
Cool.
Would, by all means, if there's founders out there listening, I would 100% recommend getting an executive coach. And Dave in particular for me has been just really inspirational, right? Having somebody that's external to the company to
I love it.
Work with has been amazing. And so, I would give a shout out to Dave Cox.
Hey, so Dave, thank you for that, by the way. And let me ask you, because I think a lot of founders get nervous about hiring a coach and get nervous about hiring a consultant, or they feel weak for doing it. Why have you done it, and how has it helped you specifically?
Because you don't go to the gym if you don't have a trainer, right? I've tried that before. And so the trainer, you pay them, they make you come to the gym and lift those weights or do whatever training you're doing, right? The executive coach is nothing but a trainer for you and for your business. I would think of it that way, necessarily that you're weak or that you're outsourcing any of your work. It's an external mind for you to just be able to unleash some ideas you have, because it is a lonely job, right? You don't have anybody to talk to. And so having that person that you can just, for one, unleashes a decent amount of stress because you've just gotten it out, vocalized it. But secondarily, if they're, qualified executive coach like Dave is, he's run, multi-million, billion-dollar companies. And so have him that gives me a little bit of advice, that's coming from a place of him knowing what he's talking about, right? And so
I love it.
That pattern recognition really helps.
I love it. I highly recommend for those out there listening to this who are wondering about their next steps to growth and scaling, a coach is a great play. It's a great play, and we'll talk about that in some other episodes. But I will say thank you so much for your time today. This has been a fantastic interview. And where do people catch up with you? Are you active on social media at all? Or where do people see you?
I am. Yeah, you can see me on Twitter or on LinkedIn at Ravi Kurani. I'm the founder of Sutro. I'm sure if you Google that, you'll find me.
Perfect. Well, thanks so much for being here today, and we look forward to seeing all of you on the next episode.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Todd.
Hey, what did you think of that interview? I loved it. I honestly am inspired. I'm motivated. I think it's very cool. Having an exit plan, having the ability to move forward with his long-term goals while being funded and being, but working with a bigger company. And he's found a way to make this thing work where he's not only hitting the goals of the company, but also managing expectations for the acquiring company while he's fulfilling the goals of his long-term play, which is to provide water, care, and kind of hit this bigger picture that he initially set out to solve. Just because you can't solve your initial business problem when you start the business doesn't mean you should throw away the idea. In his case, he made the proper pivot to make sure there was cash flow in the business, to get it to solve a problem that had immediate need and immediate demand, and then be able to continue moving forward towards the goal of providing a bigger solution at the end of the day. So wonderful story, wonderful transition, wonderful experience. I loved talking to Ravi before and after the interview as well. Just a great guy. Take some time, if you can, to share this episode with someone that needs to hear it. You probably know someone who's been in a similar position, had to make some pivots they didn't really want to do, but it ended up being the best thing that they ever did for their business. Share this with those people. Share this with people that need to make those decisions. And like and subscribe. This podcast is growing with the help of you and you alone. So take some time, share, like, subscribe, and make sure that you are having a good journey through your process of growth and scaling in your business. Love to hear about your business. Please reach out if you have any questions whatsoever. We'll talk to you then.